Hello and welcome to the Global Dynasty YouTube channel. Real Housewives of Potomac Season 7 Reunion Part 2. We have a lot to unpack, so let's not waste any time. The reunion picks up right where it left off with Dr. Wendy reading Giselle per usual, and she's going into detail about how strategic Giselle is when it comes to trying to throw everyone's husbands under the bus conveniently when cameras are around. But for some reason, Giselle stands by and she says that she's not lying on Chris, even though the footage says otherwise. And we've all seen the footage, they played it back, each role. Chris is innocent. They're coming for him and they're attacking his character for no apparent reason. But for some reason, Mia wants to jump in and defend Giselle and say if she feels uncomfortable, a woman can say that she feels uncomfortable, which is true. Giselle has every right to say she's uncomfortable, but she doesn't have the right to lie on someone in the process of her saying that she's uncomfortable. And she has yet to explain exactly what about Chris made her feel uncomfortable. And Candace stated a valid point. Why can't two adults go in a room and have a conversation? What's wrong with him asking to speak with you? You guys work together. There should be no reason, but she's very defensive. And Andy, he actually brings Ashley in the discussion and he asks her what she thinks about the footage and how it's played back compared to what her friend Deborah had to say. And Ashley says that Deborah stands by what she stated and that editing is inconvenient and it doesn't match what Chris says. And I'm just like, girl, at this point, just say you were lying and keep it moving because you were. Chris' mouth matched completely perfect with the words that were coming out. This was not a Japanese film. So I'm really glad that Andy asked Ashley that question so we can clear that, because next season we don't need to see an appearance from Deborah, especially if she's just going to lie on someone's husband that she doesn't even know. And they're not realizing what's at risk for this man. So then Andy, he asked Candace about her controversial Instagram live, and then Robin claims that a blog sent her a clip and admits that she didn't watch the live into its entirety and she just went based off of a clip that she saw. So my impression of this whole situation is Robin should have had her facts before bringing out this JBL speaker to try and prove a point. She's looking real weak at this reunion and she doesn't understand what she did wrong. If you and Candace are supposed to be friends, why not approach your friend privately? You've had discussions with Giselle and told Giselle what she had did to get on your nerves. Y'all had a private discussion. Why couldn't you give Candace that same satisfaction? Instead, you try to bring the other women and involve them and make a scene out of it. And you did indeed embarrass yourself, Robin. And Robin sounds like a fool. She's saying that everything that they do should be on TV when she currently in her life is lying about Juan and she didn't present that on TV. So it's like everything she says, she's a walking contradiction at this point. So then we get a recap of Giselle's dry storyline, and it's basically showing her bland renovations on her house and the rise of Reasonably Shady and her health scare with fibroids, and that's pretty much it. It's a snooze fest for Giselle this season. And Robin, it was a funny moment when Robin had spoke up about Reasonably Shady and she said that they start their podcast without researching podcasts. And Wendy had a sidebar where she was just like, that's not wise. And I thought that was so funny. Like, I feel like Wendy is gracefully carrying herself throughout each point in this reunion where she needs to. She fits perfectly. She should have had a seat closer up to Andy. She should not be last. And that's my opinion, and I stand on it. Giselle's segment is so boring. Andy starts asking Karen questions during Giselle's segment. Even he's bored with it. So Andy forces Giselle to get candid about her life. There's a point where he's asking her about her situation with her surgery and her kids, and she kind of gets emotional, but she looks at Andy and she's just like, we'll talk about it later. Like, they'll go off after the reunion is recorded and have a discussion. And Andy's like, no, let's talk about it right now. Like, this is the perfect time to talk about it because that's what the reunion is for. I feel like, again, we're getting more for some of these women in the reunion than we even get throughout the season, and that's not fair as a viewer. Like, another interesting fun fact that we find out about Giselle is she has a sister. Like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of the cast members have siblings that we don't know about. Like, this season we were introduced to Candace's sister. We didn't know she had a sister, but at least we know now. But we've been 7 seasons in deep and we don't know that Giselle has a sister. And she was there for her throughout the whole way. And I guess we can give her the benefit of the doubt because her sister may not want to be publicly on TV, but I mean, that doesn't mean that she can't talk about her in a sense. So I thought that was pretty weird. And one thing that Andy asked Giselle, he was just like, why do you feel like you don't have to tell as much about your life compared to what you expect from the other women, especially when Giselle bullies some women and she's always in their business and trying to discuss them or trying to get the women to discuss their business while the cameras are rolling. And I feel like Andy, he showed up for work this reunion. I will say that I feel like he's paying attention to the viewers and how we feel about his role in the reunion, and he's starting to hold the women accountable. And I will say that Andy has held Giselle accountable so far throughout this reunion. In the next segment of the show, we get a recap of Wendy on the season. Her intro of wanting to start a lounge and reaching out to Peter, and then we also got to see her experience in health issues, also with her hair falling out and the kidney stones, and then the epic moment with Mia. Andy says that Wendy did not say anything that required her to throw a drink, and he's referring to Mia. And I think that we all as viewers felt the same. She was having a discussion, she was defending herself, and Mia is still on some BS, and it's clear to see, even on the reunion, she's not accountable for her actions. And Wendy calls her out, but Mia deflects by saying that Wendy tried to give Peter her cookie. And I'm calling BS. We all know that Mia's real name is Mia be lying because Mia lies. Mia claims that there was a meetup with Wendy and Peter that wasn't on camera, and apparently Mia saw the footage. But if you saw the footage, why didn't you bring some pictures, some type of physical evidence so that we all can see what you saw? So until you provide those receipts, Mia, it's a lie. Robin also claims that she didn't want Wendy to fight on camera, even though she was instigating and she also had her phone out recording the whole situation. And we actually got to see some unseen footage where they were having a discussion, and Robin was just like, you don't want to fight on camera. But at the same time, it's just like, Robin, you were recording the whole incident between both women. That doesn't make either one of them look good for you to be recording the incident. Like, come on, use your brain. You're not thinking. Again, Robin is looking weak at this reunion, and a viewer actually calls Robin out about protecting the aggressor but not checking on Wendy. And she also calls her out because we clearly saw footage where Charisse was holding Robin back when she was aggressively approaching Wendy. And from time and time again, Robin doubled down and she speaks and she's like, I did not have to have anyone holding me back. And so Andy asked her about it, like, why do you feel that you didn't? And she tries to change the story up, and it's just like, come on, just stop. Just stop at this point. Just say you were wrong and call it a day so we can keep it moving. Giselle actually gets called out by Andy as well because Giselle protected Candace during her fight with Monique, but she did not do the same for Wendy in that situation. And Giselle's response was, it's because she doesn't like Wendy. So it's clear that Giselle is not a person of integrity, but she's more of a person on her own personal perception of life. and is sorry and it sucks, and she just doesn't get it how to be a woman and how to be a friend. There's no sisterhood within this group, and for her to be them to both be a part of the same sorority, their sorors, what are you missing, Giselle? And Wendy speaks up and she tells them, like, I'm honestly hurt by this group and how you all have reacted to the situation. And I think that that's what the group is missing on the spectrum, where there was a physical altercation between Monique and Candace. Monique physically attacked Candace, and I'm not saying that it was warranted, and I'm not saying that Candace was innocent in that situation, but we all know that Monique should not have gotten physical with her. And that same logic should be applied to this same situation with Wendy. And it's not being applied all because they're playing high school. I don't like you. It's the same situation. So then let's run that back then. So that means you're okay with what Monique did to Candace, Giselle? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm glad that we're now calling these women out and making them be accountable for their actions, because it's time. Just stop. This part of the reunion is not like any reunion that we've ever seen, and I'm glad that the ladies had an opportunity to address this topic, being colorism on the show. And Andy asked the ladies how they would like to approach the topic, and the ladies decided that they wanted to do it without a moderator and they wanted to do it amongst themselves. And in this sense, I'm glad that Andy gave the ladies the opportunity to make that decision. But I think, in all honesty, this segment needed a moderator. And we also needed to pinpoint the exact moment so everyone could understand, along with some of the castmates that still didn't understand after the discussion. So Candace starts out with the discussion because apparently she had a lot to say about it behind the scenes, and she pinpoints some of the moments throughout the show that reflect colorism leading in altercations. And she starts out with Robin being aggressive towards plenty of women on the show, where she's even went inside of Ashley's restaurant and pointed her finger. But when a woman of darker skin does something of the same nature or even less on the scale, they're looked at as being aggressive. And I think in that moment, that's where we should have spoken up, because we enter in Dr. Wendy. As soon as Dr. Wendy entered the cast and she said something that the ladies did not like, they looked at her and they would call her aggressive. But they mistook her actually knowing how to use her words in conversations and speak clearly, and also provide you exactly how she feels when she feels that moment. We can't call her aggressive, but we don't call Robin aggressive when she's pointing at someone's face in their business. And she's also approaching people and wanting to fight them and provoking them, and, well, I'll do this, and she riles a group up, but Robin isn't held to the same standard as Dr. Wendy, and that's not fair. And that's why I say there should have been a moderator so we can bring in these moments and exactly pinpoint them out. Because I think Candace, she spoke clearly of what she meant, but I think some of the ladies didn't understand because she used the words emotional. And that's where Giselle tried to chime in, and Giselle was just like, well, I don't understand why you're using emotional with colorism when the two don't have anything to do with it. And in that moment, I looked at Giselle and I knew there was a reason why I don't really care for Giselle, because Giselle came from a family from the civil rights movement. She has family history that has fought in slavery, and she also attended a HBCU. And I don't understand why she can't connect with the topic, especially with her being a light-skinned woman. So Karen actually speaks up as a light-skinned woman, and she clarifies what Candace is actually meaning, and she's shining light with when Candace says that she has an issue and she's speaking up and she feels uncomfortable about a situation. We need to listen, and we don't need to voice our opinions and make her feel like we don't understand, because at this point the ladies may not think that this is a big topic. For example, Ashley chimed in and she says that she acknowledges her privilege, and I'm glad that she actually speaks up and She knows that she's a woman of lighter skin and she has a privilege. And that's one thing. Acceptance, that's the beginning. I won't say that that's the end all be all, because it's not. It's a start. But then in that same moment, she turns around and says that that's not the problem with the issue on this show. That is a moment of gaslighting, and that's not throwing gas on the fire. You're gaslighting the audience, because if this issue is big enough for us to mention this, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on our Facebook, whether it's to our friends in our private discussions, if this issue is big enough for you guys to have a segment on it, then it's big enough for you to realize that it's a real issue. And it's not just in the issues that y'all have, it's within the cast. So I think that the segment was a great moment, but it was missed. And it was missed because we should have had someone on the show asking these ladies specific questions, and there should have been specific questions catered for specific people so we can have an understanding. Because Mia, I thought her perspective was interesting, but I still didn't understand it. But she said that when people come to her and they try and point out and say, oh, well, this is colorist, or you guys have colorism, she doesn't understand because she's raising a darker woman. And then Giselle chimes in and says, I agree. And that is equivalent to a white person saying that she understands the black struggle because she has a biracial child. And we all know how that can go sometimes. Like, no, you can't use that same excuse in just saying that, oh, I have a daughter with darker skin. And that should be the reason for you to actually open your ears and understand where the cast with darker skin is coming from. And I just wish this wasn't that much of a missed moment, but I understood what they were trying to do, but it should have been more. Because when the segment ended, I literally was like, that's it? That's all we're gonna say? I mean, if you like it, I have to just deal with it, because I'm not gonna say I love it. Mm-mm. So the reunion pretty much concluded where Jacqueline will be entering the room, and we have a recap of Mia and Jacqueline's rocky friendship. And Jacqueline legit feels that Mia acted as if she was beneath her. And Andy asked Mia, when she lived with Jacqueline, like her experience compared to the issues that they were dealing with. And of course, Mia said that she's disappointed that it had to play out this way on TV, but Mia's actions didn't explain that. When I first looked at their friendship, I was wondering why Mia was so mouthy and just kept saying bad things about her friend on TV, and how she was trying to use her products, and why you always using my stuff. And it's just like, if you're a real friend, you don't call your friend out if you know that they're not able to provide themselves with the things that they need, and you can't be a friend to, help them out. Then A, don't invite them on the trip, and B, just learn how to be a friend, period. And so the next episode will conclude, it'll pick right back up where apparently these ladies have receipts on each other. So I feel like this could be a situation that gets really nasty, because they've known each other for years. So who knows what is about to be thrown out. I feel like Gordon won't be off limits, and I think that I know that the men will be joining the stage. And it's so sad that it's only like two of them. It's like three of them. It's Ray, Chris, and Gordon. So I'm pretty sure that Gordon and Chris are ready to basically explain themselves. Um, Ray doesn't really have much to talk about, and Charisse will be coming out as well. I guess this is where we get Karen's segment and everything that had to happen between those two. And so I guess we'll see. But tell me in the comments, in your honest opinion, do you feel like the colorism topic was approached in the most appropriate way as possible? Do you think that the discussion should have went further, or do you think that everything was discussed and everything that was said needed to be said? Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for listening. Until next time.